The master students of the Faculty of Business had gathered in the lecture hall for the time management lesson. When everyone was seated, the professor entered and took the platform. "Today we're going to do an experiment on using time correctly," he said. Then he took out a huge jar from his bag. After showing the jar to the students watching him with great attention, he carefully placed the fist-sized stones in the jar. "When the jar is too full to take another stone. Do you think this jar is full?" asked. Students, "Yeah, it looks pretty full," they said. "Is that right?" said the professor, and took small pebbles from his bag. Then he started filling them into the jar too. The small pebbles started to fill the jar by passing between the large stones. When all the pebbles were gone, the professor asked again. "And now? Do you think the jar is full?" The students answered, "No. It's not full yet." "You're right," said the professor, and he pulled out a bucket of sand from under the lectern. Then he started pouring it into the jar too. Sand began to fill the jar, flowing between the large stones and small pebbles. When the job of pouring the sand into the jar is finished, the professor asked again. "I wonder if this jar is full now." While the students looked at each other in surprise, they decided that it would be better to say no. "Beautiful," said the professor, and he took a bottle of water from under the lectern and poured it into the jar. The water slowly seeped into the jar filled with large stones, pebbles, and sand. When all this was done, the professor got down from the lectern and approached his students, and said, "Guys, what could be the lesson I want to teach you with this experiment?" One of the students asked to speak and. "Very simple," she said. "No matter how full our time may seem, there can always be found enough time for some works." "Professor," he replied, "what you said is true, but that's not what I wanted to say," and continued. "What I really wanted to tell you was the fact that if I hadn't placed those big stones in the jar first, I would never have placed them again. This jar represents our life. As to those big stones, they are the most important works we have to do. If we don't give priority to those important works and do not include them in our lives, we will never be able to find time and space for them again because of small things, relatively less important or even unimportant and unnecessary things. Now, I want you all to think about this. What are the big stones of your life, and have you given them the necessary priority and placed them in your jar? Let's really think about it. What are the big stones in our life? Our children, our spouses, our family, our loved ones, our friends, our job, our education, our dreams, our health, to produce a work, to be useful to others, to teach them something. Your big stones are one of them, maybe a few, maybe all of them. Think carefully before going to sleep tonight, and what are your big stones in your life? Decide. Know that if you don't put your big stones in the jar, you will never be able to put them again. So, act now and value your priorities.